Hi, my name is Sally Ito, and I will be reading an excerpt from The Emperor's Orphans, during which time my friend Debbie Tsuyaki will be building a Ikebana arrangement in the vase that is featured in this story. Thank you. In 2006, my 71-year-old mother, Akiko, was out on the front lawn of her home in suburban Alberta, pulling dandelions. In Japan, where she was from, the dandelion is a lovely yellow flower, not a weed to be expunged. But here, in suburban North America, it was considered a blight. She raised her head, looked around at all the weeds, and thought, "I can't do this anymore." Suddenly, everything, the house and lawn around it, felt too big for my mother, too much to care for by herself. Although I believed it was a good idea for Mom to sell the house, I found it hard to face the fact of the impending event. My siblings and I were going to lose the only house that had ever been our childhood home. It was packed full of the treasures and detritus of our lives, and sorting through it all to prepare the place for the realtor was daunting. Back for a week from Manitoba on my summer holidays, I helped Mom with some of the work. For me, this mostly meant going into the basement crawl space where everything was kept. As I hunched over cartons, trunks, and shelves full of things accumulated over Mom's 40 years of living in Canada, I came to understand what a lifetime's accumulation and possession of things signifies. What does one do during one's life? What are the items that mark those phases and passages of life? The ceramics in my mother's basement were beautiful. Vases and kenzans, the prickly metal disc used for positioning flowers in the vases, were used for Ikebana flower arrangement. Mom wasn't a practitioner of this art form, but the few vessels she had were outstanding. These ceramic vases were unlike the dainty frippery of English china, but had aji, or taste, from which emanated the subtle glow of wabi-sabi, that distinctive Japanese aesthetic of the ephemeral and beautiful. They were restrained, refined, and simple pieces, elegant and elemental. She had one beautiful vase, aquamarine blue. It had a blue bowl-shaped cup that stood on 3 cylindrical legs. Inside the cup, one would place the kenzan with a bit of water, and then the flowers would be arranged into it. My mother loved that vase. She agreed, albeit with justifiable trepidation, to lend it out for the Japanese-Canadian Centennial celebrations in 1977 for an Ikebana demonstration, at which event one of the legs broke. That story has made that vase memorable. Its peculiar and austere shape now reminds me of a metaphor I was taught about the Anglican Church. The Anglican faith was described to me as being like a stool with 3 legs. The faith was built on scripture, reason, and tradition. To be of the faith meant reading the scripture, thinking about it, and enacting the age-old traditional rituals associated with the thinking and the reading of the text. Although this metaphor was meant for religious instruction, it seems to apply also to one's cultural identity. For is not one's identity built upon the same 3 things: the reading of the text, the thinking on the text, and the practice that has evolved out of a contemplation of the text? Instead of the metaphor of the stool, however, I had my mother's vase with a broken leg. This was my cultural metaphor, a beautiful, empty vase, into which I must find and place the flower of words. The legs unite, not for a firm seat of belief, but rather to uphold an emptiness into which the beauty of the world might be received. If anything is to be said of the craft of writing oneself, perhaps this metaphor is the one most appropriate for a Japanese-Canadian woman.